So a few days ago, I uploaded a video about the Pantlaza deck I've been working on. It was the latest iteration of it, and I think it was quite good. The deck that I'm going to go over today is not that deck. It is a Pantlaza deck, but it's a very, very different Pantlaza deck. Now, credit where credit is due, this was not my idea. This was an idea that I saw on the EDH subreddit, which I will link in the description below. And I'm just basically regurgitating information because I thought this was a very interesting, if maybe fragile build. So we're going to go over it real quick, take a look, and then see how it plays. So yeah, let's take a look. The deck is a 95 land Pantlaza deck. So right off the bat, let's go ahead and take a look at the cards in here and how they play. So 95 lands, it doesn't matter what's in here as long as you can reliably hit your 3 colors. As for our not lands, we have Barren Glory. This will be our win con. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control no permanents other than Barren Glory and have no cards in hand, you win the game. Creative Technique, it has Demonstrate, which means you can allow someone else to copy it, and if you do, you can copy it as well. And then you shuffle your library, reveal cards from the top, and then once you hit a non-land card, you can cast it for free. Decree of Annihilation, just removal. It will kill all artifacts, creatures, lands, graveyards, and hands from the game. Or rather, exile them from the game. And Long Road Home, exile target creature. It returns with a 1/1 counter in your end phase. And then Pantlaza is just our commander, which, I mean, I think we know what he does by this point. Now, you probably have figured out what the deck does, but just to be sure, right, you hit 5 mana, you cast Pantlaza. He will discover for 4. The only thing that's valid in the deck would be Long Road Home, which will flicker Pantlaza. He'll come back down in your end phase with a 1/1 counter, meaning you discover for 5. The only valid selection is going to be Creative Technique, which you will allow an opponent to demonstrate, and when you do, you will then look for the last 2 cards, which will win you the game in your next upkeep. Now, fairly straightforward. There is the only stipulation on your end is that you can never draw into these 4 cards, ever. Because if you do, you basically brick. You will not have enough ramp to actually cast any of this stuff. That said, you are going to want to be mulling very aggressively. I have seen suggestions that you mulligan down to 0. I find that a little risky because there's no guarantee you'll hit your 3 colors with the land base that we have, though it is probably the safest in terms of not drawing this. If you weren't feeling comfortable with that, you can just mull down to 3. So let's go ahead and see how this deck, just a quick test run of the deck, right? If this is running as intended, we should be able to win the game by turn 6. Which, I mean, it's not exactly a high power deck, but, I mean, it works, right? So yeah, let's go ahead and just mull down to 7, which means I'm just going to shuffle, or mull down to 0, I mean. Which means I'm just going to start with no lands in hand. I mean, nothing in hand, rather. So first, turn 1, draw a card, play a land. Turn 2, draw a card, play a land. 3, play a land. Yeah, this is what I was worried about. Okay, forest, cool. 5, turn, okay. Yeah, so turn 5, we have 5 mana. We cast Pantlaza on curve. When he does, so we only have one option here, right? So I'm not even going to bother flipping things off the top, because I don't think it actually matters at this point. We grab Long Road Home, immediately cast it. Pantlaza will flicker until the end of turn. End of turn, it returns a 1/1 counter. So we discover for 5. We look for Creative Technique. There it is. All right. Now we will, when you cast a spell, you may copy it if you do. So yeah, you may copy it and then you choose an opponent and copy it. So we shuffle until we hit a non-land permanent. The first one would be Decree of Annihilation, which is immediately just going to wipe everything. Right? And then when these as well. And the second copy of this will go and grab me a Barren Glory. Yeah. So by this point we pass the turn, and everyone will have no hand and no nothing on the board, right? which means that they have no way to actually deal with Barren Glory. We go to our next upkeep and we win the game. Technically, I haven't drawn by this point yet, but we win the game. That is ideally how you would play. Now, again, if you ever draw to any of these cards, you're fucked. You're done. Game's over. Which, I mean, for a 95 land deck, that's pretty good. One other downside of the deck is that Decree of... What is this? Decree of Annihilation will not hit enchantments or planeswalkers. Which means if someone is playing, you know, Enchantress or Super Friends, or I guess if battles are on the field at this point, you're host. There's nothing you can do about that. There's no other removal. You either pray someone else deals with it or you just lose. On top of that, I mean, it's Naya, blue, right? You get countered once, you're done. Like I said, this is a very fragile build, but I thought it was funny. I might actually just I have these cards, right? I could actually put this thing together and just give it a few test runs on the next Friday Night Magic. Regardless, that is the deck. I would not recommend playing it too often. It's probably either going to be very frustrating for other people, or they will wise up to your strategy and just like body you for like every subsequent game. So, you know, maybe give it a go once or twice and then retire it, because I doubt this is actually going to be fun to play long term. That being said, that's the deck. Thank you for watching. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.